The court rules that the no-confidence motion filed against the Guyana government is valid. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, January 31. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire Thursday ruled that the motion of no confidence against the David Grange administration, which was passed in the National Assembly last month, is valid, paving the way for fresh regional and general elections by March. In handing down her judgment in three matters regarding the validity of the December 21st vote, George Wiltshire said 33 votes in the 65-member National Assembly constituted a majority, and that's how many votes the opposition was able to garner with the support of then-government backbencher Chantaras Prasad. Attorney General Basil Williams had argued that half the votes in the National Assembly would have to be 32 and a half, and since there is no half person, that number would have to be rounded up to 33, and in that case, one more vote would be needed to form an absolute majority. But the Chief Justice did not agree. She said there was nothing in the Guyana Constitution that provided for rounding up of fractions. George Wiltshire contended that while there is a need for an absolute majority, she was of the opinion that 33 votes constitute that majority.
The President and the ministers cannot therefore remain in government beyond the 3 months within which elections are required to be held in accordance with Article 106 of Article 7, unless that time is enlarged by the National Assembly in accordance with the requirements of said Article 106 of Article 7. Owing to my findings above, the other questions raised by the applicants are rendered moot and do not need to be addressed in the application, except to say that this court cannot set aside or nullify a ruling that was validly made in accordance with provisions of Article 106 of Article 6 of the Constitution, nor can it state the enforcement of a resolution validly declared in accordance with the same provision of the Constitution. Such is prohibited, as is held in a number of cases, for example, the Attorney General and Tropical Ranger. While a court can intervene to inquire what has occurred in the National Assembly, this can only be done if the National Assembly acted unconstitutionally. This is not the case here. So therefore, the ruling of the Speaker that the no confidence motion debated in the National Assembly on December 21st, 2018 was carried by a vote of a majority of all the elected members of the National Assembly is thus lawful and valid, being in accordance with the requirements of Article 106 of Article 6 of the Constitution.
The Chief Justice also ruled that Prasad was ineligible to be nominated or elected as a member of the National Assembly because of his dual citizenship, but she said that ineligibility did not render the vote invalid.
I therefore hold that anyone who holds dual citizenship as envisaged by Article 155 and therefore falls into this category of disqualified person should not and cannot be a member of Parliament. As such, the declaration sought in terms of paragraph 1 and 2 of the prayers for relief are granted. Therefore, I hold and therefore declare that the second respondent is not qualified for election as a member of the National Assembly by virtue of his own act and acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, and adherence to a foreign power, to wit, the sovereign state of Canada, in contravention of Article 155, sub-Article 1, sub-Article A of the Constitution of Guyana. Further, it is also declared that the second respondent was, on the 7th of April 2015, disqualified from being nominated as a member for the National Assembly of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
But in a swift response, Attorney General Basil Williams said the Chief Justice's ruling was only the first stage and the government will appeal. He said they are prepared to take the matter all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice.
We had said that they needed to have 34 votes and not 33. And why is that? It's because you require an absolute majority, what we call it an absolute majority, as against a simple majority. The simple majority is 33. Now, if the absolute majority, as the former president of the CCJ, Dennis Byron, said, we have an absolute majority when he looked at our Constitution and a simple majority. And he said the absolute majority is stronger than the simple majority. It means that 33 cannot be the same vote for the absolute majority. And in any event, We are talking about a parliament with 6 to 5. It's an odd number parliament, and the cases show when you have an odd number parliament, to get the majority, you divide it by half plus 1. And when you divide 6 to 5 by half, you get a fraction. And since there are no half human beings, you have to round up the fraction to the next whole number. So that's 33 is half. And you plus 1 to get a majority.
Still in Guyana now, the presidential candidate of the main opposition People's Progressive Party, Irfan Ali, has been advised by Canada to not consider traveling to the North American country at this time because of pending criminal matters against him. Ali is facing 19 charges related to the alleged fraudulent sale of state lands while he served as housing minister under the last PPP government. The charges were filed against him before he was elected as the party's presidential candidate earlier this month. We get more in this Capital News report.
Looking up for the People's Progressive Party presidential candidate Irfan Ali, as he was advised by the Canadian High Commission in Trinidad and Tobago that he should not travel to Canada in light of the pending criminal matters that he is facing in Guyana. Ali, who is facing 19 fraud charges, was booked to travel to Canada for public meetings with PPP supporters. The former housing minister under the People's Progressive Party government is before the courts for allegedly fraudulently selling state lands. However, Ali, in a statement released by the People's Progressive Party, said that he noted the mischief being peddled on social media in relation to his visit to Canada. The PPP presidential candidate said he was scheduled to depart Guyana yesterday at 10:20 a.m. via Caribbean Airlines, but on Monday he received a correspondence from the High Commission of Canada in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, advising him of a report in relation to the 19 trumped-up charges by SOCU. Ali said he was advised not to travel and given 30 days to respond to the correspondence. Ali said that he is the holder of a valid passport and a valid visa to travel to Canada. He said, too, that he has since contacted the Canadian High Commissioner in Georgetown, who is looking into the matter. Irfan Ali and PPP Chief Whip in Parliament, Gail Teixeira, were expected to be at a fundraising dinner on Friday.
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has disclosed that CARICOM, Mexico and Uruguay have agreed to pursue peace talks to deal with Venezuela's political crisis. He spoke to the media on Wednesday after returning home from his trip to the United Nations with other CARICOM heads who are concerned about their situation in the South American country, where opposition leader Juan Guaido has declared himself interim president. CNC3's Avashi Tawari Rupnarayan reports.
CARICOM has joined with Mexico and Uruguay to form an alliance to pursue the advent of peace in Venezuela. Mexico and Uruguay are the only two other non-interventionist countries calling for dialogue in the new Venezuelan crisis. CARICOM leaders spent 2 days at the UN headquarters in New York meeting with several key players in the affair.
The end result is that we are going to continue in this position. Mexico, Uruguay and CARICOM, with connections to the UN where that connection can be made, to reach out to the Venezuelans, to take advantage of this situation, to treat with their internal problems.
The Prime Minister remains slim on details as to their next step.
It's a little too early to tell you that, but the Uruguayans have put that out, and that has to do with us standing on the principles of non-intervention and providing an alternative route.
CARICOM also met with Russian diplomats who debunked the assertion that they had deployed military and military equipment to support the Maduro regime.
We were informed by the Russians that they have no assets or personnel in Venezuela towards the furtherance of any military action.
But what does the region have in place if these superpowers do attempt to transport nuclear warfare in our territories?
We have a position on that, but we can't enforce it. We are not sufficiently military strong to enforce that. I mean, even between Trinidad and Tobago, where you have ocean-going vessels of all kinds, we don't know what submarines pass through there. We don't know who is off our coast right now, with what. Right? So most we can do is stand on principle. Our position in these matters as a small island state, unlike our neighbors, we, more than others, have to stand on principle.
In other news now, lawyers for former Bermuda Premier Dr. Ewart Brown have called on the governor and director of public prosecutions to launch an investigation into police. They allege lawmen used sensitive patient information they obtained during February 2017 raids of Brown's 2 businesses to put pressure on a potential witness in an inquiry into the ex-premier's medical practices. The Royal Gazette newspaper reported on Thursday that Brown's lawyers have written to Governor John Rankin and DPP Larry Mussenden asking them to instruct an inquiry by the Police Complaints Authority. Brown's medical businesses, Bermuda Healthcare Services and the Brown Darrell Clinic, are under investigation following allegations they ordered unnecessary tests for patients to boost profits. The lawyers said a judicial review into the lawfulness of those raids is pending. And coming up in Caribbean, Newsline reports that 1 of 6 Trinidadians kidnapped by Venezuelan pirates has been released. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
One of the 6 Trinidad and Tobago nationals kidnapped by Venezuelan pirates has reportedly been released. Local media reports say he got his freedom on Wednesday and was interviewed by anti-kidnapping officers. There are no details about which man was released or the time or location he was set free. But it is understood that part of the $200,000 ransom demanded by the kidnappers was paid. The pirates had said they wanted a down payment by Wednesday and the rest by Friday, and threatened to cut off the hands and limbs of the men if the money was not forthcoming. The 6 Trinidadians included a 16-year-old boy reportedly left the country to go fishing on Sunday afternoon and were expected to return on Monday morning. A picture circulating on social media showed them surrounded by men armed with high-powered rifles. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley commented on the kidnapping on Wednesday.
What I do know is that if you do not have proper law and order on the borders enforced by governments that are in control, those kinds of developments can become more the norm than the infrequent.
Well, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says there will soon be 24-hour surveillance along the country's southwestern peninsula, which he acknowledged as a major entry point for guns and drugs. He made the announcement when he appeared before Parliament's Joint Select Committee on National Security on Wednesday. CNC3's Akash Samaru has the details.
Perception that corrupt police officers know when and where the drugs and guns enter this country. And the Commissioner knows this as well.
People continue to claim everyone knows where the drugs are coming from, where the weapons are coming from.
With no known gun factories here, it's well known that our porous borders facilitate the influx of items that contribute to our alarming murder rate. And the Commissioner says the Coast Guard alone cannot stop the movement into the island, at least along the southwestern peninsula. But Commissioner Griffith says he has a plan, one that utilizes modern technology.
In the very near future, we intend to utilize air surveillance in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Our air unit will be complemented by drones that will be ensuring that we will be able to monitor that peninsula on a 24/7 basis, with it being fed in real time through the Operational Command Center.
But the Commissioner says they need some updated equipment.
Initially, that air division, it was just drones, but not of a very high standard. Probably just a little higher standard to what you will probably get in Toys R Us.
Commissioner Griffith said there will also be helicopter patrols manned with elite units which can respond immediately to a volatile situation. But what about police corruption? Well, the Commissioner reminded the Joint Select Committee that he's implemented polygraph testing in the Southwestern Division.
For those who refuse to be polygraphed, they will be reassigned.
Over to Jamaica now, where the anti-corruption watchdog, the National Integrity Authority, the NIA, has dismissed as unacceptable and inappropriate a suggestion by state-owned Petrojam that it is drawing up the guidelines for a forensic audit to probe oil losses at the company. The audit will investigate how over 600,000 barrels of oil valued at $5.2 billion went unaccounted for by Petrojam over 5 years. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
Unacceptable and inappropriate. Petrojam must have nothing to do with the drafting of the terms of reference or the tender to get the person who is going to do the auditing.
Executive Director of the National Integrity Action NIA, Professor Trevor Monroe, reacting to news coming out of Tuesday's sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee. He agreed with committee members that an independent party should draft the terms of reference TOR for the forensic audit to probe oil losses at Petrojam.
Once they're professionally qualified and have no connection with Petrojam, draft the terms of reference, proceed with the forensic audit, set a date by which it must be done, because this Petrojam issue cannot continue indefinitely.
Professor Monroe believes that the buck stops with Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who is also overseeing the energy portfolio.
I believe that if we are to take his previous statements seriously as they ought to be, he should put an immediate stop to any process whereby Petrojam is going to draft the terms of reference for forensic audit into its own conduct.
And the Prime Minister has taken note. A release Wednesday afternoon stated that the TOR were suggested by Petrojam and have been submitted to the Prime Minister's office. The TOR will be reviewed by that office, the Finance Ministry and other relevant stakeholders. It has not been approved, and the selection of the audit or audit firm will be subject to procurement rules.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies bundled out England for 187 on day one of the second test. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Buju Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. popcorn, and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKidsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Oh, which one? This looks good. But really, aren't these cute? No, I don't like that at all. Come on. No, I can't afford to mess this up. I don't have time. Okay, let's do that again. Like, what was that? Anything in my teeth?
Good economic news kept rolling in the past several days as the U.S. economy created 312,000 jobs in December, or more than double any economist's estimates. While the mainstream media has been predicting doom and gloom for the economy as a fourth quarter stock market correction took place, the fact remained that the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up more than 1,000 points in the first couple of trading days since the jobs announcement. The facts didn't cloud the reporting by news outlets like CNN, which credited the stock market boom.
West Indies pacers Kemar Roach and Shannon Gabriel sliced through the England lower order to bowl the tourists out for 187 in their first innings, less than an hour after tea on the opening day of the second test on Thursday. Resuming from tea on 172 for 6, England lost the last 4 wickets for 15 runs, with Roach and Gabriel sharing the spoils. Roach ended with 4 for 30 to follow up his 5-wicket haul in Barbados in the first test, while Gabriel finished with 3 for 45 and Seema Zari Joseph got 2 for 38. Top scorer Moeen Ali, unbeaten at tea on 55, made 60 before falling in the 5th over following the resumption, clipping a simple catch to Shannon Gabriel at mid-wicket off Roach. Now wicketkeeper Ben Foakes added 3 to his tea time, 32, and tail enders Sam Curran, who got 6, and James Anderson with 1 offered little resistance. Let's take a look at the final session of today's play.
Well, this session saw England still at the crease and Moeen Ali going fine until then. Shannon Gabriel taking a comfortable catch. Ball seeming to just stick into the top surface. Another wicket for Kemar Roach has been impressive. A few good blows, and that was a blow. Ben Foakes was hit on the hand, on the thigh, back into the stumps, and he's not on the field keeping wicket. Sam Curran went caught in that slip cordon. Roach again. And Jimmy Anderson making a bit of room. Cleaned up by Shannon Gabriel. 187 all out, England. Stuart Broad back into England's team. It was a huge appeal to no avail. He did review, but he overstepped on the front line, Sam Curran, and it was missing. England don't lose a review.
At Stubbs, the Windies are 30 without loss, with openers Craig Brathwaite on 11 and John Campbell unbeaten on 16. Still in cricket, batting star Deandra Dottin narrowly missed out on a record-breaking third T20 International 100 as West Indies women launched their historic 3-match tour in Karachi with a convincing 71-run win on Thursday. Choosing to bat first at Southend Club, West Indies piled up 160 for 6 of the 20 overs, with the right-handed Dottin blasting an unbeaten 90 off 60 deliveries. Playing their first series on Pakistan's soil in 15 years, West Indies were propelled as Dottin dominated a 34-run opening stand with Kaisia Knight. Now, Chadi Nation struck exactly 50 off 35 balls as West Indies recovered from an uncertain start to reach a competitive total. Now, in reply, Pakistan never quite found their footing, especially after Cornell knocked over openers Sidra Amin and Javeria Khan cheaply to catches at the wicket, leaving the score on 32 for 2 in the 6th over. Fast bowlers Shamila Cornell snatched 3 for 29, while new ball partner Shakira Selman and off-spinner Nisa Mohammed picked up 2 wickets apiece as Pakistan folded for 80 with 2 overs left. And switching sports now, the Cayman Islands National Squash Association is in desperate need of funding after one of its major sponsors pulled out. Cayman 27's Jordan Albanese has that story.
Fundraising drive all year round to cover the cost of a coach, to cover the cost to use the squash club facilities and travel costs for the national team. So it's a constant challenge.
After the loss of their major sponsor in 2016 and reserve funding spent to keep national coach Mark Challoner in charge in 2017, since the president, Janet Sarsing, says funds to keep Cayman's national squash program active have run dry.
We haven't found a sponsor of that magnitude. So, we have a couple small sponsors, but it's not enough to be able to sustain a salary for a full-time coach all year round.
But Sarsing says help is on the way.
We have junior CASA, senior CASA, we have Island Games coming up, and therefore for that short period of time then we'll utilize a grant, if approved, to do the coaching.
And that's the sports. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
If you gotta be for me, who can be against me? If you got it,
I want you to already see yourself out of the storm. The clouds will move. It's time for you.
And traffic grab it you. Give away your last all when you know have it yet. I saw your heart still always. So when that innocent light pass, the one them.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Buju Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Again, the major developments of this day, Guyana's acting Chief Justice rules that the no-confidence motion the government lost last month is valid, paving the way for fresh regional and general elections. And in sport, West Indies bundled England out for 187 on day 1 of the second test. That's Caribbean Newsline for News and Sport. Round the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.